I'm presenting to you Anastasia Armanova. She is a daughter of her parents, a human of the world, and a woman who has gone through many transformation experiences that led her to break free from the matrix. People like her exist. They live among us, and she is a bright example to that. She is an experienced master of Kundalini activation, and we will talk about it a little later. Now, I would like to devote some time to her, what kind of person she is, where she's from. And I feel so much gratitude to you that we are here now in your homeland, the Chuvash Republic, recording this interview. I want to give you a moment to share how you feel in this world as Nastya Armanova.
Susha, thank you so much for such a nice introduction. I'm a master of Kundalini activation and have been working with energy for 4 years now. I'm one of the first 30 KAP facilitators in the world, a modality founded by Venant Wong, and I'm the first Russian-speaking facilitator who brought this type of modality to Russia.
Of course, it's tempting to start talking about Kundalini activation right now, but let's hold on and talk about where you are from. Apparently, you are from where we are recording this video now, a small town in the Chuvash Republic, Russia. As I introduced you, you are a daughter of your parents, and that has a big impact. Surroundings and genes all determine us. And you are the daughter of the mother who was a teacher. It's interesting to know if this has influenced you and if she became an example for your life journey, strong will, character, determination. Please describe your connection to your mother.
Connection with my mother. We started the conversation with a small town. Yes, indeed, I was born in a very small town with a population of 12,000 people. I remember when I studied at university, the number of students there was more than the population of my hometown. I have very pleasant memories of my childhood in that place because it is an incredibly beautiful area on the bank of the Volga River. Coming back to the subject of parents, I'm very grateful to mine for my upbringing, for their input and for our family values. Yes, I'm the daughter of my mother who was a teacher. This, of course, influenced my character. It instilled discipline in me. I attended two schools, high school and music school, both I graduated with top grades. It all affected my development. And I almost never prepared for my homework. I had a sense when teachers would ask me questions, so I received high grades not because of my knowledge, but because of my quick learning process. I would learn at the last moment, pass the test in the class, and then forget it afterward. It went in one ear and out the other. And this discipline and strictness, although I resisted it before, thinking, why I'm so serious, I'm now very grateful for. I have that part of myself that can structure discipline and direct energy in a focused and masculine way to achieve and determine goals. Thanks to my mother, I have these qualities.
I'm sorry to bring this up, but I remember your father has passed away. I recall your posts on social media where you talked about how painful it was to grieve about your death. It might be important for some people to hear how you process this experience, given that you were already a deeply spiritual person.
You can't truly prepare for such moments. I always assumed parents would pass away when I was much older, when we are already adults with our own families and possibly adult children, and now older than 50 or 60 years old. And I thought maybe then probably a human being might be more prepared for the passing of dearest loved ones. The experience of losing a loved one is when you truly become an adult without a parent and you started feeling completely different level of responsibility. When you have a mom or dad, you're still a child. Even if you're in your 70s, there might be still a mom saying, where is your warm hat, your scarf? Put it on.
It is an instant separation.
Yes, an instantaneous separation for which you can never truly be prepared. And perhaps being who I am now with spiritual knowledge and life experience, I handle the process a bit differently. Understanding the laws of the universe, karmic lessons, and what a soul comes to learn and accomplish in this incarnation, and recognizing when these karmic knots dissolve and the soul completes its mission in this realm and moves on to another realm. All of this understanding helped me process my father's passing and the grief and pain differently. And I saw him off on his final journey, not with the excruciating pain of the separation and loss, but with a light heart. My father suffered from cancer, especially in the last few months before his passing, so his death became a liberation for both his physical body and his soul. I myself experienced a sense of dying during a psychedelic journey. On the other side, I was aware that my physical body had died, but my consciousness remained, observing my body becoming like a mummy. It was like a grape turning into a raisin. In that altered state of consciousness, I watched my body aging into a 90 years old granny, dying and mummifying in a fast forward process. And my consciousness remained. I couldn't move, but I was still there. I felt the joy and liberation of the transition process. We don't truly die, we're always present in another realm. This personal experience of sensing the transition helped me guiding my dad through his journey. And I told him at that moment, Dad, don't be afraid. We will always be together. I will always know that you are there, watching over me. This gave me comfort.
This is so meaningful. Thank you for sharing this experience. Developing the ability to observe and handle these major life events likely didn't happen immediately. It was probably developed under the influence of transformational processes. There is a saying, you can't avoid pain, but you can avoid suffering. And please tell me from your perspective, is suffering a choice? Is it possible not to choose suffering?
Of course, it is possible when the soul undergoes deep transformations, integrates them, and transcends duality. It can choose not to suffer, even in extreme polarity. However, most people still choose these experiences, not because they desire them, but because the soul needs them for evolution. Souls may collectively decide to incarnate in places with significant distortions and catastrophes because this aligns with the laws of the universe. Everything in life follows an order. If someone must endure pain, especially with a karmically connected partner, this experience will manifest eventually. Once the person understands the lesson, processes, and integrates the experience and evolves, there is no longer a need to attract such painful experiences. The karmic knot dissolves. Only if the person integrates the realization of this lesson. Otherwise, someone may repeat the same lessons over and over again throughout their life, not understanding why they keep meeting the same kind of a person, why they attract the same kind of friends, or why they end up in situations where they get hurt. The universe will always provide hints and only deliver painful moments for our own evolution and to break the cycle. These moments can be perceived as either a curse or a blessing. Take COVID-19 for example. It forced the whole collective to face limitations and restricted us to our households. I happened to be in Russia and in New York during 2020 when we were in the midst of the pandemic. I witnessed this when we had no opportunity to go outside or travel anywhere, trapped with our closest people, parents, spouses, children, friends, and we couldn't escape and had to face conflicts head on. This is why some people couldn't handle the transformation and ended their relationships, which was also an important step. And others transformed conflicts through conversations and conscious processing. This is why it was like a curse and a blessing, a powerful lesson for humanity and a path to liberation.
You mentioned living in New York. You've been living there for 15 years now. I'm curious, are people different there on our planet? You've traveled to so many countries, and I've introduced you as a citizen of the world. Do people differ in their faith, in their suffering, in their loving?
I've been living in New York for 15 years, and it's perhaps difficult to describe it while living in New York because we have such a diverse mix of nationalities there. In my work, I get to meet many cultures. I always joke that I don't have to travel to meet people from different countries. They come to my classes because New York consists of so many nationalities. I've been so lucky to work with people from the Middle East, the West, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. One correlation I've noticed among all of these people is that, and before, I tended to think that only Eastern European women experience blockages in their throat chakra. We often don't express ourselves through our voices, through our truth. We hold it in, keep it silent, suppress our emotions and feelings. But this correlation goes across practically all nationalities. It was a revelation for me because I thought it was a stereotype that we Eastern European women are shy, closed off, suppressed. It was a truly discovery to see that many people experience difficulties in relationships, struggling to say no, don't speak their truth, and fail to set gentle boundaries like, you can't behave this way with me.
Your mission now is precisely about giving people the opportunity to self express, to bloom in their authenticity, and to start experiencing joy in life through your Kundalini activations with your signature channel Purity Sensation. And I'm curious, what led you to this? What was the turning point when you realized that's it? This is absolutely my path, and everyone needs to experience it.
You know, there wasn't a specific turning point. Since my childhood, I remember myself sitting on the windowsill of my room in that little town and always having conversation with God. It wasn't a dialogue, of course, like asking a question and receiving an answer, but I always felt very close to God, saying things like, God, please help me, please give me a sign. And my mom used to say, ask God and God will always help. Interestingly, in my early childhood, I thought God was a she because my mom used to say Boženka in the feminine form. And I believed that the Divine Mother, Maria with Jesus, was our God. So I felt friendly with Boženka. I would look at the stars from my window on the first floor in a town with no lights, but a bright sky full of stars. And I always had a longing to be somewhere there, thinking, why am I here? How is it possible that I'm in such small town where everyone knows each other? It felt too tight for me. I always longed for metaphysical knowledge, spiritual information, mystical understanding from an early age. I've always felt that there's something within me that I need to give, I need to share. When I came to America, I started to fulfill that hunger with knowledge through books and meetings with spiritual teachers, channelers, mystics, seers, and people with supernatural abilities. Since 2010, I have been eagerly absorbing such information, driven by a deep need to learn. I started to experience the sensation of energies. Growing up in a small town, I didn't have a computer, nor were there books or even stores selling books about metaphysics.
Yes, there were no internet.
What internet? I had no computer. Yes, I'm 37 years old and I bought my first computer when I was 22 in New York. Can you imagine? You know, I passed all my exams in informatics by cramming, then forgetting everything the next day. But I only gained access to the vast resources of information when I was 21, 22 years old here in America. In 2010, I immersed myself in experiences with crystals, cleansing with sage, Palo Santo, and learning tarot. I dove deep into these practices, living them fully. I traveled to sacred places within the US because I couldn't travel abroad for a long time. Meeting my first teachers anchored me in my spiritual journey. Back in 2010, I felt like an outsider, not from this world among my friends, as none of them were interested in such information. I already had this knowledge, but had no one to share it with or even compare notes with. There was no one to guide or support me, and I was always searching for that someone. I eventually found her in California. She was my first teacher, whom I call my second mother, an incredible woman, Natalia Kuzmina, with the energy of divine love and absolute love. With her, I had my first experiences of feeling vibrations, the energy in my body. She invited me to join on her retreats to Mount Shasta. With her proper guidance, I was able to anchor myself on the right path. Had I fallen into the hands of a wrong spiritual teacher, someone with alternative motives, everything could have been different for me. I was so naive and open to the world with an open soul. And so I'm very grateful to my first teacher, Natalia, who brought closure to the first chapter of my searching. And 7 years later, in 2019, I met another teacher, a master. By then, I was fully prepared physically, emotionally, and mentally. I understood the laws of cause and effect and had a clear sense of who I am. I knew who I was, but not what I should do or how to do it. However, since 2012, I knew that I was ready.